I was out a couple of weeks ago, I think it was Johnny Lawson who said, "Oh, you need to go around on this podcast." And you were drunk and you agreed.
Was.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the podcast Chatzzz. And today we've got a very, very special guest, Tracey Bowman. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the head of it.
So it's been quite a while since we've been trying to get you on, hasn't it?
Yes,
Busy?
very much so. Yeah, very busy. So much going on. 2 businesses.
And then I was out a couple of weeks ago, I think it was Johnny Lawson who said, "Oh, you need to go around on this podcast." And you were drunk and you agreed.
Was.
So
And I messaged it.
Yeah, I don't mind. It's all good.
So, what we're going to do is get you to introduce yourself to the viewers, or listeners. Introduce yourself to someone if you meet them for the first time.
Okay.
How do you do that?
So, hi, my name's Tracey Bowman. I am the owner of the Andalusian Carlisle and Tottergill Farm holiday cottages in Castlecarrick.
Nice. And then I prepped you with 3 facts.
Yeah.
I think you've told me some already, haven't you?
Yeah.
Let's go over it.
So, number 1, I speak Greek fluently. I lived in Greece when I was just before my 18th birthday. I moved over on a whim, went to live out there. It took me about 6 months to pick up the language. To speak it. I listened all the time and I'd get words in my brain, put them in my brain. And then about 6 months in, I felt confident enough to actually speak Greek. So, and I lived out there for nearly 3 years, just nannying and bar work and anything that it took to kind of survive in a hot country and great times. So I haven't been back to Greece very often, and I'm now keeping up with all my Greek on Duolingo. Do that every morning for 10 minutes. And if I see any Greek people anywhere, I talk Greek to them, particularly the Greeks down there at Alexandros.
Oh, yeah. That's so interesting, actually. I was going to say, have you been back since in between? I know you said been back in the...
I haven't been probably for about 15 years. And so we're planning to go this year because it's such a beautiful place and it's such a lovely language and the people are amazing. I know when I'm there, it just flows and you just, every word that's in your head just comes out. So it's fantastic to do.
It's so cool, like knowing the language, I think.
Yeah, and it's very difficult, Greek particularly because it's... the alphabet's very different, so it's like Russian.
Sure.
But I can read it, thankfully. So on my Duolingo app, how anybody learns from scratch, I've got no idea. Because I can read it. I can't write it, but I can read it. So, yeah, it's been, it's just nice. It's just nice. I'm sure it drives everyone else insane. Da-da-da-da-da, ping, correct. Da-da-da-da-da, ping.
Yeah, because my mum and dad are fluent in French. And we always used to go back like pretty much every year when I was growing up, and I used to think, oh, that's not cool, that's weird. And then when you grow up, you realise how cool it is to go, and the locals appreciate it as well, don't they?
People love it if you can. And when I lived out there being blonde, people would never think you could speak it. They'd think you were a tourist. So, you'd find somebody talking about you on the bus or something, and and they'd be like, oh, God, are you Greek? But I understand everything you're saying. So it was a great asset to have, but yeah, it's a lovely language and food's amazing, so hopefully this year, fingers crossed, find some time to go. So I lived in Rhodes mainly, and a bit in Corfu, and spent some time in Athens, so I'd like to go out and hit the Santorini or Mykonos.
Oh, that'd be cool, yeah. What was your favourite way you lived?
Rhodes, I think. Rhodes, I was there for a long time, near the old town, and that's just beautiful, and nice people, and a nice way of living. When you're young, it's a good ride. I thankfully didn't get stuck out there. There's a lot of girls do marry a Greek boy and
Yes,
that's bad. You had a bigger life.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's nice to go back. It's
Cool. Then what was the second one?
The second one is that I am vegan.
Here.
I've been vegan for just over 4 years. I was vegetarian, kind of pescatarian for 25 years before that. I was traveling around the world, and as I got more into kind of Asia, eventually in India, became total vegetarian, just because there were so many problems with eating meat and fish out there, and I just found it was absolutely amazing for my body. Brilliant. I had so much energy, lost weight. My body just worked amazingly well. So I was like that for 25 years. And then I was watching veganism quite a bit and wasn't sure if I could cope without butter, because I like butter.
Okay, that was me.
Butter was the thing. I love butter on jacket potatoes and stuff. So I kind of thought, I'm not sure if I can do it. I'll try it one January when they do Veganuary.
Yeah.
And I loved it. My energy was off the scale again. I ran the Great North Run with no training. I hadn't done one run. I did it in under 3 hours. I did the Macmillan Ullswater Way mighty hike, 26.2 miles, no training, did that in 11 hours. And if you ask anybody who knows me, my energy is just crazy for someone my age. So it works for me. It doesn't work for everybody. You know, I do still wear leather. I've no problem with anybody else eating meat. I obviously make a living selling meat dishes and fish dishes. But I do believe it's up to everybody else, you know, what you want to put in your body. But I'm a massive animal lover, and so I am quite grateful that I don't eat meat and have animal products, but I have no problem in what anyone else does. It's up to them. So it's a nice way to live, and I eat amazing food. So,
that's interesting. I suppose you said you were vegetarian for 25 years before.
Yeah.
What made you make that switch? Was it just literally going travelling and it was harder to eat the meat, or was it mind beforehand?
No, it was because I did quite like meat, but it was once you got into India, it wasn't good to eat meat. I mean, the butchers, there was no refrigeration, there were carcasses hanging up with flies on them, and people that I was travelling around or with, they were all dropping like flies of dysentery. I didn't get anything. So, you know, I just felt it was better. And that was the only, if I hadn't have tried that, I would have never have realised how good it was for me not to eat meat, and how great my body worked without it. But yeah, that was the only reason really. You know, and I don't think I could ever go back and eat meat now. Just probably wouldn't like the taste of it.
That's interesting because, like, I'd imagine, do people ever ask you, would you ever eat meat again, or would you ever go back and stuff like that?
Yeah, they do. And I'm a person that never says never, so I'm never restrict myself by saying I would never eat anything. I always say if I fancy an egg, I've got my own chickens, so I would have one of their eggs, but I haven't fancied an egg. Also, if I went to someone's house and they gave me something and then suddenly said, oh my God, there was some butter in that, or there was some dairy in that, I would be okay with that. If there was meat, I would know there was meat in there. So, but sometimes if someone's made something and they've just got a bit of butter in rather than oil, so I'm not allergic to anything. I can't imagine myself eating it, but I never say never.
Yeah, because that just reminds me of, because I haven't drank alcohol in like 3 years.
What?
And everyone always asks me, "Can you get drunk?" And then people always ask me, "Oh, are you ever going to drink alcohol again?" And I always say to people, like you said, never say never, but it would be weird for me to start drinking again because I've done it for so long. It's just in the routine. I imagine you're on the routine of just buying or growing your vegan diet, where I'm like, I'll just have a Diet Coke because I've been like that.
Does that bother you that that's on?
That's it. Just so they go. And then the third one, what was the third one?
The third one is, I have to kind of
get the notes out.
Get the notes. Get their notes.
Like I said, most people don't prepare.
Yeah, I did it this morning. So I'm a trained nursery nurse, and so that's what I did when I left college. And people always are so shocked that when I say that I'm a trained nursery nurse, because obviously I don't have anything to do with children. I don't have my own children. Yeah. But trained nursery nurse, and I was also a maternity nurse, so looking after newborn babies for very wealthy people, you know, and and I used to love children, and well, I still do love children, but I didn't actually work as a nursery nurse, nannied, so it was quite nice. Showed parts of the world as well, which is good.
I suppose you look after people in different ways now, don't you? In here or at the cottages, different forms, but So what way do you want to do that and get trained in that in the first place?
I think when I was at school, it was just something I fancied doing. I don't think at 16 you're old enough really to decide what you want to do for the rest of your life. And my parents and all our kind of families all had own businesses. So I kind of didn't know of things like lawyers, accountants, solicitors, other professions. They just kind of weren't in our remit, you know, because we were all like bakers and butchers and milkmen and taxi drivers and that kind of thing. So it wasn't ever that I didn't ever kind of, you know, come across those kind of roles that I might want to go into. So yeah, I like children. So it was.
How did you find it then?
Too easy. Yeah, it was a 2-year course. Could have done it in a year. I used to get very frustrated and annoyed that we couldn't cram this into a year and get on with it. So, but nannying was great. I mean, nannying and nannied all over the place in America. Did a lot in south of France, London. Looked after some amazing children who I'm still friends with now. Got their own children. So, yeah, I've got some that I'm still really in contact with, which is really nice. So it gave me a different, learning a different way of living with different people that had different lifestyles. And it's quite amazing, really.
Yeah.
Gave me
How did you get them kind of jobs then? Did you just like apply?
Yeah, often applied. When I was nannying, I got a really good job through a friend of a friend. And that was probably one of my biggest nanny jobs, who I'm still fun with it, kids. Once I was maternity nursing, and I did blag my way into maternity nursing because babies are babies. Yeah. I kept getting recommended because you do like a 6-week stint and then you hand back this baby who was doing this and doing that and saying, I'm going now, work 6 days a week, 24 hours a day, and your baby's now sleeping, or this is its routine kind of thing. So, yeah, it was quite nice. And I think I only ever had one baby that didn't sleep through the night by the time I handed him back. So,
really?
There were many nights of sick and up all night and that kind of thing. But, you know, it was nice. It was nice to do. And again, lots of life experiences, which is good. Yeah. Living with different people, you know, aristocrats, very wealthy people, fashion designers, just very different lifestyles. It was great to see that and be part of that.
But just expose yourself, like you say, to different people or lifestyles such as you made as well, to really open your eyes and see how
really
to live.
Really did. You know, and I would go out and eat in places that I would never have gone with my family in Yorkshire, and got taken to the most amazing places all over the world, really. So it was fantastic.
Very cool. So what we're going to do next is then go back to a little Tracey, what you were like growing up. So any like first memories or anything you were like growing up in school, and really now if you're reflecting on those younger years, how's that kind of like shaped you or makes sense more like how you formed into who you are today?
Okay.
What were you like then growing up?
My mum would say I was a nightmare. I'm a Leo, a typical Leo, and we laugh about it all the time. That I was literally born singing "Life Is a Cabaret" on film, came out with jazz bands all the time. We were laughing about it this weekend because my mum was here, and Dad always says, if I'd have been born first, I'd have been an only child, which would have very much suited me. But anyway, I have an older sister, so
you got all the attention, did you?
Well, I think I demanded it. That was it. I just came out, and I was a big baby. I'm here. I was a big baby, so I never looked like a newborn. So mums and everybody used to come and have a look and say, "Oh, come look at your baby. She looks like a 3-month-old." So yeah, very lucky because parents are still with me, very much in love, born very much of love, which I think really makes children very solid. I don't think you realise it when you're young, how much an impact that has, because you were born of love and you were protected like that. I still am. If anything happened, Mum will say, you come home, which I think really defines people. And I think people today who don't have that, it must be quite hard to be so stable I think it must be hard. I mean, I've never experienced it, but I am lucky.
A lot of people do mention that on the podcast. Like, I came from a stable family. My mum and dad are still together now, which I think I'm very lucky at. A lot of people I talk to, they say that has impacted them, like having the split parents at a young age and not really understanding it, and then it makes sense now.
And blended families, you know, that affects children because, you know, they're living with their dad and they have to go home, but then come into the family and that kind of thing. It must be hard for them.
Yeah, I can't even imagine what I'd like.
No, I can't. And I'm nearly 55, you know, and I think it must be a tough one. But so I know I was very, very lucky with that. Loved life, loved school, loved to go to school, you know, never had a problem, socialised, talked, probably got told off a lot for talking in class. So I liked talking and I liked people. We'd go on holiday and mum and dad would think, oh, where's she gone now? And I'd been feeling, you know, like one holiday in France. There I was down the beach, sat with another family, talking to them, holding their baby, you know, probably about the age of 8, conversing in pidgin English, you know, and so I've probably always been quite independent, very much do whatever I wanted to do and go off and do it. And but my mum would always say, tells a funny story, people would come and say, oh, she's so lovely, she's such a good girl. Or if I'd been at someone's house, she's so well behaved, so nice. And mum used to have to go, yes, she is, thank you. And she said, I'd get you home and think, because I was a nightmare at home, quite demanding.
Well behaved,
knew how to behave. Yeah, she'd think, oh, she's horrible at home. So it was quite comical. And Mum and I did clash quite a lot, I think, because I was quite full on. But
were you quite similar, do you reckon?
No, not at all, not at all. I'm very like my dad, and I'm a bit of a daddy's girl. So it was probably, Dad would let me do this. I'll tell my dad when he gets home and that kind of thing. So, you know, but no, I did have a really nice childhood, and we went lots of places and we travelled and did nice stuff. You know, we always went, if not abroad, we went in the UK and stuff. So always had nice holidays and nice memories and days out, I think, which are really important. So.
What did you enjoy about school then? Was it like the academics, or was it like the extracurricular, or was it like just the socialising and that kind of thing?
People, friends, didn't mind the work, the schoolwork. I found it quite easy. I'm not an academic as such, but I was always capable. You know, my sister was probably more intelligent than me, more academic than me, whereas I was more into socialising, loved drama, loved English literature. Yeah, not particularly sporty at school. It just wasn't that way inclined. But no, I just loved people and friends, and I loved school. I loved going.
What did you want to be when you were growing up? A lot of people say, I don't know, if you're a boy, wanted to be like a footballer, did you want to be like a Disney princess, or did you have anything in mind that when you left school that you wanted to be? Or
I don't think so. Yeah. I don't think I ever thought. I can't remember ever thinking something I wanted to be. No, I know it's quite odd, isn't it?
Yeah. I
don't think
it's not odd. Then what's different? I didn't know what to think of a girl, because I was like, I wanted to be a footballer when I was growing up. I was a boy, but
so then I can't think of it. I wanted to be. I think I was just quite happy with me,
just plodding along and just going through school. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So then, when you got to like 16, 18. What did you think is next? Was it going to like, you're on a sixth form, or was it university, or was it just go to college and get a job?
Yeah, it was go to college, but I knew that I would go travelling.
Okay.
So went to college for 2 years. As soon as I'd finished my college course, I shot off and lived in Greece. So I was there for nearly 3 years. I think I came back once at that point. In that 3 years, my parents came over as well and saw me and things, and we were in contact all the time. And then when I came back from there, that's when I started nannying. I thought, get a proper job now, and started nannying down in London. Did some stints up in Yorkshire as well, where I'm from, and then I did the maternity nursing.
Yeah.
And then from that, I decided I was going to go travelling around the world. So I saved up a lot of money. I did any extra jobs anywhere I could. I'm quite creative, so I used to like paint things and do arts and crafts and make gifts and stuff and sell them at craft fairs and anything I could. I'd be painting till midnight in my bed, painting lovely plant pots, and I did all sorts, made all sorts of things, and then saved up enough money and went travelling around the world for nearly 2 years. So yeah, traveled around for 2 years.
So I was going to say, obviously leaving home. How old were you when you went to Greece? Then we 18.
I had my 18th birthday in Greece, so just before I was 18.
That's a big leap, isn't it? Going away from home, I'd imagine.
I know.
On your own.
And that's it. Mum and Dad were on holiday, and they knew I was going to do it. No, they left me some money on the side for a flight. There's your flight money, see you, and that was it. But that's me. I've always been independent, so I just decided that was it. I was going, and off I went. And
that's crazy. Was travel then something that you always wanted to do? I know you said you didn't have a job in mind that you wanted to do. Did you always want to go and see the world? Was that one thing? Yeah.
And if you think back then, because you're looking at like 40 years ago, there was no internet. You had no idea really what the big wide world was like. You read in books, you saw in films, but it wasn't as easily accessible as it is now. And I'd been on holiday to Greece with a friend and her parents, and I thought, that's where I'll go. I saw a job advertised, got the job, booked my flights, and off I went, and loved it, just loved it, and loved my time there. So I think that's just kind of person I am, really. Just, I moved my whole life from Leeds up here 15 years ago, and I've loved that as well. So I suppose it's just person you're always in.
Yeah, coping to new experiences. So then when you saved up your money then to go travelling.
Yeah.
So where did you want to go then? Was it anywhere in mind?
Flew out to Australia because my auntie and uncle live out there. So I actually spent a year in Australia and did a bit of work, but travelled all the way around, bought a VW camper van and travelled all the way around, which was really good and a massive experience. Then did New Zealand, Thailand, Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, and then India. So I didn't do the whole world, but I did,
Quite a bit.
Coming back. And it was fantastic, and just spent, a good amount of time in each country, getting the feel for everywhere. I didn't really want to go to New Zealand because I thought it's just going to be like England and Australia. But it was the most magical place. You were just unstrung on scenery, and it was just something else that I had no idea what it was going to be like, but it was fantastic. And then obviously Thailand and Indonesia and Malaysia, all of those lovely Asian countries, they were fantastic, beautiful food and lovely memories created and places to see, just quite special, really. Staying in huts on beaches, living on £10 a day. It was great. With a backpack and 2 pairs of trousers and 2 T-shirts and a pair of clogs. That was it.
Simple, isn't it? Yeah.
The best. It was fantastic. And I think the other thing that it does, it gives you the feeling of not being materialistic and just being, and that's really good too. It's a fantastic way to kind of know who you're about, because you cope with not having things at all, and not having anything materialistic. It was great.
Yeah,
good.
Feels like people up there just happy to be alive, aren't they?
Yeah.
Care about like having the latest iPhone or the signed T-shirts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Did you go travelling by yourself?
No, I was with a boyfriend at the time, with him, and it was good fun. At the end of it, we were just good friends, actually.
Yeah.
Taking it out of us.
Yeah.
So, but
enough for you.
Yeah, exactly. He'd had enough of me, I'd had enough of him. So we were a bit like just good friends when we, but you meet a lot of people. I don't think I would have gone on my own.
I was going to say,
but you do meet a lot of solo travellers. So but we met a lot of people, which some people were going one way and some were going the others. And the one place that I really was quite apprehensive about going to was India, because nobody would tell you fully what it was like, because I would always say, what's there like, what's there like, but they didn't know where we were going next. But India, people would say, you'll just have to go and see, or you'll have to experience it. I was thinking, oh my God, I can't.
I'm going to make it out alive.
Oh, and I'm a big animal lover as well. So I thought, oh, if there's lots of cruelty and I won't cope. But actually, it was the most magical place around.
Sure.
Just fantastic. It was untouched in many ways. There's a lot of poverty, as there is in a lot of places, but it was magical. And you can imagine it in the times when the British were there as well. They left such a big imprint. Rightly or wrongly so, but they did leave a fantastic imprint. It's just a beautiful place, and people were great, really nice. And so I did love it in India. It wasn't frightening at all.
Yeah. I've never been there, of course.
It's magical. I have been since. I went to a wedding probably about 20 years ago, and it was a lot more developed.
Yeah.
Which it has to be. And I'm glad I saw it and lived it when I did, because it wasn't this techno, and everybody's got everything as we have here, phones and laptops, and everything's digital. So, but I say it was still, when I was there, it was still very simple, which was really nice.
Cool. So then, when did you decide to come back then?
I was about, I think I'd done enough. I was ready to come home. It's a funny thing.
How long did it be?
2 years. 2 years. Most people do a year, so I did 2 years. But I think you get to the point where, particularly when you're travelling, you don't really have anywhere to just make your own beans on toast or anything like that. I was a bit tired of just like going out to eat all the time, and you just probably get to the point where and I wanted to see the greenness of England. It's very odd, isn't it? You don't realise. And a pub, I wanted to see a pub and stuff like that, and eat English food. So I knew then it was time to come home. And it was lovely to come home. It was nice.
What was the plan next then when you came over? Would you thought of what you wanted to do? Or?
No idea, absolutely no idea. And just did a few odd jobs. Worked for an agency, did a few silver service jobs. Never done silver service in my life. Said I could, did it, and then decided I was going to move back to Leeds, and went back to Leeds, and then got a job doing marketing, and we started working for a friend, and that was when I started my journey into marketing. Worked for a design agency, did all the sales for them, learned all about design. We did digital printing. I ended up being a director of a company. I was sales director of that company. Yeah. So that was kind of worked my way up and doing that, which I really liked and loved.
I was going to say, did you enjoy doing that side thing?
Yeah, sales I love. I always loved, and I'd have to come to big companies. I brought some really big companies on board, and having experience. But your product, have to sell. You just go for it. So It was good, really good. And then I got headhunted to a business, a big restaurant actually, who was looking for somebody to do all their marketing, events, PR. And I wanted to work less days. I'd also set up a networking company, a business, just a little one called Ladies at Lunch, which I'm going to relaunch in Carlisle actually this year.
That'd be cool. It's a nice, good name, that is.
Yeah, and I've got a lovely logo, which was designed from years ago. And we used to do it in Leeds, Liverpool, Manchester, Harrogate. And it was great. Female-only networking, because men and women network differently. Yeah. It was really successful. But, and I continued doing that, but only worked 4 days a week for the big restaurant. They were great because I told them that I wanted exactly the kind of package I was on when I was a director of the design company. So it was great because I managed to be able to do my networking and work for them. Worked for them for 3 years, then met my husband, Barnaby, who's from up here, and moved up here within 5 months, but still commuted down to Leeds and did my job down there for about 1.5 years. But then we bought this place, and so it was time to move. got to Cumbria full time.
Weird. So then the networking company, was that the first business venture on your own that you did then?
Yeah, I did it with a friend of mine down there. So we did it. It wasn't a massive money making thing. It was more about getting business in for ourselves, and making the contacts. We just knew a lot of people, and we had some great fun doing these events and speaking, and it was great. It was just a great thing to do, to bring all the business women of the city together. And Leeds is a big city, and then obviously we did it in Harrogate and Liverpool, and we worked quite closely with the Malmaison Hotel Group, and they were brilliant with us. They really helped us. But once the recession hit in 2008, people just stopped putting money into networking and stuff, that everyone just had to couldn't be seen to be networking because they were letting people go and making people redundant. So we just decided to stop them for a bit because of that. And then we never really did it again because I moved up here and she's down there. We were still very close friends. She's down there. So
Did you always want to have your own business or your own thing there? Because I know you said like your family growing up and supporters had their own stuff going on. Is that something that you'd always wanted to do?
No, not really. I don't think I ever really thought so. And my dad always, said it's a lot easier, Tracey, working for somebody else and having a wage, because he'd obviously worked so hard. We had a bakery, my parents did, in Leeds, and, long hours, knowing how hard it is to make money, have staff, look after everybody. So not really until we came up here. I came up here and my husband bought this building and we opened the Andalusian.
Sure.
And so that was really my first taste of having my own proper business. I'd never run a business before or didn't really know what I was doing, but learnt on the job. And
as you have done throughout your career.
Yes, I can do it. I can do it.
So how did this come about then? The first time when you bought it then?
So
Bought it.
Barnaby had seen this building. He'd sold a business, he and his brother had sold a business in Penrith and a building, and decided that they wanted to go separate ways. They had a carpet business. He decided he wanted to put his money into something else, saw this building, absolutely loved it, and said, I want to open a bar. Did have a business partner at the time who is who has bars in Carlisle, and they were great friends. It didn't work out, unfortunately, as partnerships often don't. But so it was he and I on our own. And eventually, we just made it what it was. I just literally did have to learn as I went along. I realised, by not opening every lunchtime, you were going to start making more money because less costs, and learning to buy better all comes off your bottom line. And I must have, when I was working at the big Italian restaurant in Leeds, which is a massive 300-seater restaurant that I did big shows for, I put big events on. I set up this thing called BB Showtime. I think when I left, we were doing 113 events a year. When I started, I think they were doing about 13 events a year.
It's crazy growth.
Yeah, which was great, and it was fantastic. But I must have picked up something. I must have understood about table planning for, in a restaurant. But I learned something then, maybe subconsciously, because I knew about a lot of things. And but we had an amazing chef at that time, Johnny Kidd, who was still really good friends with. He stayed with us all the time, and he taught me a lot about front of house. But he taught me a heck of a lot because he'd had his own business. So yeah, I think you just do learn as you go along. You've just got to have balls.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, and you've got to be able to prepare to step out of your comfort zone. Barnaby's, he's a thinker, so he's the one that will say, "Let's do this," and I think, okay, I can do that, and I'm probably he calls me the tactician, so I'm the person that can do it all, and I can't think of the word he uses for himself. He's a thinker, I'm the doer.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just ended up with a really good business. But I do think that the success of somewhere like this is being grateful for every person that walks through your door, whether they buy a meal, a pint, put a party on, bring a big group or come to people. Just being grateful for every single person and focusing on your business and not worrying about what other people are doing. Yeah, a lot of people do that, you know, and I say focus inwards, because nobody's competition. They're just all complementary businesses that add something to what you bring to the table, you know, like next door and further down and all the restaurants across from us. It's fantastic because this area is busy. And if people are eating next door, they'll have a drink here. If they're eating here, they'll have a drink next door. If they're eating across the road, they'll drink here, you know, so it's great for everywhere. And I think I have a big city mentality in that way, because that nobody's competition, there's enough people for everybody, and it's about appreciating that, and, you know, should all work together really, haven't work together.
I feel like a lot of people are too worried about other people, aren't they, and trying to either put them down or talk down on them rather than focusing on yourself, because you should all be rising up together, shouldn't you? You should be all helping each other in different ways that you can be, and that builds your status and reputation, doesn't it, as well?
Yeah,
right.
It does. You know, and if we can't fit people in, we'll suggest try next door, try over the road, try wherever, you know. You've got your favourites. I don't eat out loads. I am trying to a bit more to support other businesses because people support me. But I think, you know, you should recommend. And Carlisle's really lucky. It's got a lot of really good places to eat. It's been, you know, and they're all in a close proximity. So there's some really good places to go to. I think we're successful as well because we're quite innovative. So I try and bring things from bigger cities into Carlisle and, you know, just think ahead of the game all the time. And I've got a lot of friends who are in the industry still in Leeds. So, you know, you can kind of glean ideas from them as well. And, you know, like my friend will say, this is the next big thing. Do this. You need to be doing this. I think last week she suggested that we did brunches. I was like that. I'm not sure that's going to go down 100% well in Carlisle just yet.
It's a bit behind.
Yeah, I will put it in my box for later on. So anybody else who upstairs, they'll be like that. Drag brunches, yeah. Well, we're doing the drag brunches.
That's the only thing about Carlisle, isn't it? It's just a bit behind in some cases. Like that in probably 3 years or so might be really good, right?
Yeah, definitely. Well, we've just started doing the bottomless brunches, and other people do them. But I thought I need to do something a bit different to what they're doing, because why do people want to come? You know, they want people to want something different. You can go there for that, here for this. So we just decided to do, so we have a live DJ on. We do it with tapas, we do it with breakfast items. And I only do premium cocktails and drinks. So it's a bit more expensive. They're around. People love it. They don't feel like they're getting cheap things. They're getting value for money. They love the atmosphere because there's a DJ. Yeah. You know, it's just something a bit different. I don't do them every week. So it's something that people can save up for and look forward to doing, you know. And
it's experience, so isn't it? Like you say, if people are paying a bit more, they want that experience, and like you say, you're giving the premium products from the tapas and stuff like that. It's cool.
And a lot of nice food goes out, and sometimes it can be a bit of a loss leader if they're really drinking under the you know, they're really drinking fast. People don't take liberties really, you know, they're pretty okay. And then some people might not drink as much as other people, so it's kind of balances out and stuff, you know. But it's great for people to be talking about the place. People were in here celebrating birthday parties in the brunch. I think there were 230s, a 40th, a 60th, you know, which is, it's quite a nice thing to do, but you just need to keep giving people something a bit different. You know, like the Halston next door, they've got their outside garden area. Fantastic.
Yeah, it's cool.
Print yard as well. Great. You know, and it just gives a different dimension to people's experiences. They can go and experience something a little bit different. And I think that's what everyone wants to do. You don't just want it to be the same old all the time, you know.
People are always looking for the next thing, especially these days. The world moves so fast, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So you constantly need to be adapting and evolving and improving, especially something like this, whereas an experience, isn't it? Like you want to go in and think, oh, Oh, so sit the weekend at her and stuff like that. Because you will tell your friends, and that's next time they're out, they'll say, "Oh, should we go there for? Or should we go there for a pint?" Which is cool. I was going to say, when you first took over, then what was your vision for it? What did you want to do? What kind of bar did you want to make it? Because it was the first time taking it over. Imagine it was a bit like, whoa.
Well, the building kind of lent itself because it's kind of very Spanishy. Because when we bought it and stripped it down, none of this was visible. So all the tiles were covered up behind like tongue and grooving. So it was all exposed. And I always felt it looked a bit Spanishy, this building. So that's when we decided we'd do tapas. And I just wanted to make it a really nice city centre vibey bar with good food. And I think we did, in the first time we did achieve that. We did it all downstairs on one level because the kitchen was downstairs. And then we used upstairs as an event space. So we did private parties and things. But before we actually sold it, because we did sell the whole thing in 2016, we had a fantastic buyer who came on board who wanted it. I didn't really want to sell, but sometimes you can't. Yeah. I've been ignoring people, so it never stops. Sometimes you can't ignore something that's so good that you never get an opportunity to do again. So we had been looking into maybe putting a kitchen upstairs and making upstairs into a steakhouse, because we thought there was nowhere in Carlisle that had like a really good steakhouse. So have downstairs as tapas and a bar, and then upstairs is a really nice steakhouse restaurant. Anyway, we were approached to buy the business and the building, and in 2006, well, probably in 2015, and we got a really good offer. So we sold the whole place in 2016, business and the building, and we left under such good. It was amazing, really. I'm sure that nobody in the history of running a restaurant has done this. Leave on a high, return 4 years later, come back on a high. It's quite a surreal thing. And I think that's testimony to this city. I really do, with it being a small city. I think, because people used to say to me, town's not the same without it. You've ruined my social life.
That's getting personal, though.
We can't have responsible. But people really missed the Andalusian. They really did. It was a sad day when we closed. I think we had 400 people here to a closing party. I put a great big event on upstairs and downstairs. So really, because I think, I really appreciated everybody who'd come in and made it what it was. You can have a great idea, but you're nothing without an amazing team of people working with you. I always say with me, not for me. And fantastic customers, because you're nothing without them. So yeah, it was. Then I was kind of thrown into this. What we could do? What are we going to do? What are we going to do?
Yeah,
what am I going to do? This was my baby, and what am I going to do? My husband has his horses. He's got some property, and I was just like, I don't know what to do. So Barnaby, actually being the thinker, he found Tottergill Farm, holiday cottages. And he said, let's go and look at it. And I was thinking, I'm from a big city. I've been dragged to a small city, and now I want to be in the countryside. And it seemed such a long way out when we went to look at it. And he fell in love with it straight away. Me just thought, I can do it. I can do holiday cottages. It can't be that difficult. What's the worst thing that can go wrong? So we had 10 we've got 10 holiday cottages. And a farmhouse, so we live on site. And I think for Barnaby, if I'm really honest, it was because he really wanted to have a place where he could have all his horses in our own stables.
Selfish then.
And he probably just thought, Tracey will do it. So
I'll keep her busy.
She'll be busy now. And yes, it did keep me busy, but not the same as this kind of busy. And I'm a people person, and I missed my people. And holiday makers are fantastic, and they come and they're around, they're self-catering and show them in, but that's it. They don't really want to talk to you. They just want in. and they only want to talk to you if they've got a problem, or if they need any more toilet paper. And that's kind of, so I'd be like, oh, morning, you'd see them and morning, and they'd be off out and stuff. So but I mean, Tottergill's fantastic, and it's an amazing place to live, and we've got beautiful views and a lot of land, and we have got all our horses there. We've got chickens and dogs and cats, and we had pigs, although they've all died now. And so we've got an amazing lifestyle. Really.
So what was it like then opening Tottergill? Was it obviously, like I say, it's a big jump, isn't it, from this to there? How did you find it?
Well, we bought it as a going concern, so I had to jump into the shoes of somebody else, and try and do everything. They had very, very high standards, so I just had to learn what they did. And they were brilliant, actually, the people we bought it from, because they really kept in touch with us, helped us with anything we needed. So it was really good. It was just very different. It was a very different game. We realised quite early on you live in a goldfish bowl because you're right in the middle, and people can knock on your door at midnight or call you at any time to say there's a radiator leaked, or there's something's fallen off, or whatever. Something's gone wrong. Yeah. And so you are in a goldfish bowl and you don't really have that privacy. So that was quite hard to get used to. You kind of had to learn to take yourself off places. So I've got like a really lovely woods. So it's really busy in summer. I'll just take the dogs and I'll go into the woods and sit and read a book, so no one can get me. Yeah. And I've got because we've got quite a lot of land, and I've got another field where there's some water running, there's streams running by it.
Relaxing.
Yeah, and it's quite nice to just go and sit there and take yourself away. So that was hard because you had to teach yourself to get your own privacy, really. And so yeah, but it's a tough business. It's not easy. It's not. We've had a really tough ride with it. I think particularly now everybody has holiday cottages, so you've got to be at the top of your game. You've got to have everything 5-star. I think I've literally just done up every single cottage to my design and my standards. But it's constant. You finish one, and then the first one that you did 6 years ago needs doing, sort of thing. So
vicious cycle.
Yeah, it is. But it's a nice place, and it is a nice industry. You do meet nice people. They're there on holiday.
In a good mood, aren't they?
Yeah. And you try and help them to have as good a holiday as possible. So.
Oh, cool. So then, how did this come back around then? Say 4 years later, 2020, was it?
2019. So we basically were looking at doing something else. We kept thinking we want to go back into the industry, and we looked at other buildings. And I just looked at Barnaby one day, and I said, "What are we doing?" I said, "Every time I walk past that building, it's shouting at me." Hello. Hello. Across the so walk up to the other side of the so I didn't look in. Hello. And I said, you know what, Barnaby, what are we doing? I know how to make this building work. I know how to make the money it needs. I know, I just know. And we still luckily had quite a lot of things, because Barnaby was desperate to get his horses in the barn, was like making me sell stuff left, right and centre. And we sold a lot of furniture, but there were certain iconic things like the cow horns here and across there, and the big mirrors, and quite a bit of the furniture, actually, the chairs and stuff I'd managed to keep. I had stuff in the panel table and stuff that were quite iconic to here. So I said, what are we doing? Let's go in here. So we asked to have a look at it. And there was a company that really wanted to come in. And I think we've just managed to pick them to the post. And I said, let's just go for it. We had no idea how we were going to do it. We had no idea how we were going to fund it. We just knew we wanted to come back in. And I think once we signed the lease, I got it open again. And I think I did it in 3 weeks, 2 days. Hired the staff, got all the accounts set back up again, had everything ready. And a guy that came to work for me, who was my bar manager at that time, Andre, had never seen anybody work so fast. He was like, "You'll never be open." I said, "You've got no idea who I am."
Crazy woman.
Yeah, he was. He was like, "You're mental, crazy." And I think he was from Ukraine or Poland or somewhere like that, And I think to see a strong woman who just goes, "We'll have this, this and this," And he had his own ideas on stuff, and I'd say to him, you can have your ideas, but I will have the last say. But we will compromise, and we'd be going through the book with Sue from Finesse about the glassware. And he just couldn't understand how I worked. And he was like, I like those. And I'd say, yeah, that's all right, we'll have those. Oh, I like those wine glasses. No, we're not having those. I don't like those. So I just ordered everything, and he'd say, oh my God. And when we opened, he said, I just even 2 days ago didn't think that you would be ready. I said, I'd be ready. I knew what I was doing. You would be ready. So it was a challenge to reopen. It really was. Yeah. But we did it, and we managed it. And
what was it like to reopen it?
Oh, just like we'd never not been here. It was fantastic. I have to say, it was fantastic.
Can you remember the day?
Yes, very much. Had an opening party. It was lovely. Everyone coming through the door. It reminded me of the first time we opened. Everyone coming in and it just feels like home. This building just feels like home. It always does. It always did do. It's just one of those places. And we were very, very lucky because when Prezzo was in here, they put in a great heating system. They put in a huge kitchen.
Involved in the heating system, innit?
Yeah, sorry, it's they put in, and we've got aircon as well. They put in the most amazing kitchen, huge upstairs. Left a lot of furniture, tables and chairs. I just had to have those recovered, the chairs and things that you can see around. And we were very fortunate to kind of come into a building that had done to it what we would have invariably liked to have done. So he came into it and it was a much better building. So we still just opened on one level because we didn't really have the staff to open on 2 levels, and we didn't really know that that's what we could evolve to. And it was fantastic, very busy. Christmas was very busy. January was great. And then obviously we got COVID. And so 12 weeks after we opened, we were shut down. And I thought, my God, what are we going to do? Most businesses, I haven't paid off my opening costs. I had no money in the bank because most businesses,
For 12 weeks in, yeah.
Yeah, you just
paid everything out, didn't you?
It was all going out. I've only employed these people for 12 weeks. I will not let them down. What can I do? And I know a lot of people just were letting people go left, right and centre and were closing. And I held on right to the end, and I refused to close the doors. I refused to let anybody down. And then they brought in the furlough scheme, and I was like, we're going to be saved, and we're going to manage to look after everybody. So it's a very funny thing because a friend of mine who lives in France, I've been to see her in the October. Sorry if I'm waffling.
It's your podcast, you meant to be.
I'd seen her in the October, and she said to me that there was something coming, and she couldn't tell me what it was, but it was going to affect the whole world, and it was very big.
In the October, this was?
This was in the October in 2019, just before I'd reopened the bar. And she said something huge is going to come and it's going to affect the world and it will change the world. And I was like, okay. She's very spiritual. And she had actually told me that in a previous life she'd been an alien. I was a bit wary. I was a bit like, that's fine, Penny, that's fine. When it hit,
you'd think straight back to that moment.
I thought this is what she meant. And I phoned her up and I said, this is what you meant, Penny, isn't it? And she said, yeah. And she said, and it's going to get worse. It isn't over. It is going to get worse. So I said, oh, what is it? Survival of the fittest? She said, no, it's survival of those that can adapt. She said, you've got to think differently, Tracey, and you've got to adapt. Right, okay, brilliant. And because I had a week of both businesses closing, and I guess like everybody, you think, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I'm responsible for people. I've got a lot of overheads. What on earth am I going to do? But in that moment, when she said that to me, I thought, I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to do takeouts. I'm going to rent the cottages to anybody who's stuck. A lot of people were in between moving house, couldn't go back to their own countries. So I had people in there at a much lesser rate than you do rent them out as holiday cottages, but it kept things ticking over. And the takeaways here were fantastic. So my old chef, Johnny Kidd, came to live at Tottergill with us. My bar, then my bar manager, Rory, came up to Tottergill to live with us. My friend Andrea, she got COVID. She came up to live with us because she was on her own. And so we had 5 of us up there, and 5 of us did the takeouts initially, and that kept us going here. So, and then we opened when you're allowed to open outside. We built an outside garden area, did that, and we were allowed to open here inside, but the rule of 6 and 2 meters and all that malarkey.
Seems like so long ago now, doesn't it?
And you know what? It was the best thing for us because we made all upstairs restaurant and all downstairs bar. And it was the best thing that could have happened because we doubled our capacity of everything. I'm sure for a lot of people that made them half the capacity because they had to have the 2 meter rule.
Yeah.
So we doubled our capacity because we could get everybody downstairs drinking, everybody upstairs eating. So that really did help us.
Because you hadn't opened upstairs yet, had you, nurse?
So I opened that as we were allowed to reopen. So that made a massive difference to everything. And so yeah, there have been good things that have come out of COVID, and all the grants that we got helped me pay off all my opening debts and keep us keep everything afloat, and which is good.
Yeah, like I say, like your friend was saying, need to adapt and think different, don't you? Otherwise, what would you have done? Like I mean, I suppose there's 2 kinds of people. One person maybe sit there and complain and be like, oh, this isn't fair. Or one person that will just say, oh, right, give me this and this, try it. Yeah, move on to the next thing. It's
like even with the cost of living crisis, the energy crisis, people talk about it so much. There's nothing you can do. You have to roll with it. It won't be like this forever. And I very much like that. Wages are about to go up. Once wages go up, we can put our prices up, which will then help us with all the energy bills and things that are going up for us. And it'll level out again. And I just don't understand why people go into panic. Yeah, it's a bit harder. It's a bit harder. But you've got to maybe try a bit harder. Or, people are not coming out. This has never been so busy. People are still coming out. You've got not to be unrealistic. Don't outprice yourself. Don't, take a bit less profit. Don't be greedy. And I think that's how you ride the wave. And that's what I've been doing. And we're the busiest, well, I can't say that on film, but we are very busy in town. And often the last open, and, we're always rammed at weekends and everything's going really good. And January and February, we've never had a quiet Saturday, never had a quiet weekend. So you've just got to ride it out and adapt.
How do you think the nightlife scene's evolved then since you first took over to now? Because I imagine things have changed quite a lot. Things have even changed over the last few years.
Yeah, coming back to it. So having, we would be open here till 3 a.m, not finish, get home sometimes 4 or 5 in the morning. I'd crawl home, dying. And it's changed a lot from COVID, where people are going out earlier because we had that curfew time where you had to close. Yeah, I'd be like, get out. I can't be get out.
Was it like 10 or 11 o'clock, was it?
10 o'clock initially, yeah. And you were like, happy. And then, so there's been a shift. So normally for us on a Saturday night now, it's 1:30, you're done. And, there's the odd time. I mean, on Friday when we had a big party, I think everyone kind of left by 4 o'clock in the morning. So there are certain exceptions, if you've got something big going on. But people are drinking earlier, coming out earlier and going home earlier. So, that's been the pattern. I would say apart from that, people's eating habits and things have gone back to normal. People are still coming out. People are still meeting friends for drinks and celebrating things. So it's, for this industry is pretty good.
Yeah. And what would you say the best way you've marketed this then, just out of interest? How would you say when you first go over and the second time took back over, what would you say the best way from your experience that you've marketed it to get out to people and get people to come in?
I think social media has changed so much since we were first about. And it's so more widely used. There's so many like influencers and people who are constantly promoting and helping to promote businesses. So I do a lot of social media, as you know, and word of mouth.
Yeah, I imagine that's a huge one, isn't it? Like, if I go to my friends, we need to go to Andalusian this weekend, that's way more powerful than social media, though, isn't it? Seeing like a post and a video.
Yeah.
And I think people forget that, don't they? Like a picture on the stories.
Yeah.
That's so valuable.
And then I always say to people, if I'm serving food, I'll say to a group of girls, it looks amazing. I'll say, will you do me a favour? Will you take a picture and tag us in on Instagram and Facebook? And they always do. The brunches are great because, as I put the food out, I'll say, don't forget to tag us, and they love that. And so I do think I don't really advertise anywhere else because I don't need to. I don't think this is the kind of business where you would data capture and email out.
Right.
I think our audience wouldn't want us to email like, hi.
It's spam, yeah.
Yeah, I just think it's not the right thing to do. But we do kind of, like table talkers out and things so people can see it as an event, or we've just got a lot of followers, and I can ask people to follow and to share posts and things.
Yeah. I think that's one thing that people forget. They'll say, like, if the girls are putting the brunch on and they'll put a story on, you're reaching their 1,000 followers, aren't you? If somebody else is reaching another 1,000 followers and stuff like that, and it just spreads like wildfire. And these days, I think that people want to be seen as cool, don't they? So they see one of their people they follow, Andalusian, I need to have what respect next time and stuff like that, and it just snowballs. It's crazy.
Well, all the young ones say to me, we're the place to go, we keep getting told we're the place to go, and I'm like, good, that's good. Yeah. That's really nice,
I think it is, though, because there's been places over the years, and they just keep on closing down, don't they? And this is the one place that different ages go as well, don't they?
Very different ages. I get all kinds of people from young to older couples coming in, or older groups of guys, groups of girls. People can be eating upstairs, one kind of crowd, and downstairs it's bouncing with another crowd of people.
Sure.
And I do think it's important to be in your business as well. I mean, I've got Tash, who is my general manager. She's like a mini me. She can do it all perfectly well. She's fantastic. And I can not be here and know that it'll run beautifully and trust her implicitly with everything. But people like to see you. They want you in here.
Yeah.
I mean, I was cooking on Mother's Day. I was in the kitchen with the kitchen crew. And I do that quite a bit because it's good to be in the kitchen and know what's going on in there as well. I'll come down in an apron and I'll say, that was so delicious. I'm like, I was in the kitchen. It has nothing to do that I was in the kitchen at all, but they like that and they want you to talk to them. And I do think you should be in your business. I think a lot of business owners aren't present in their business.
I agree with that, yeah.
And therefore they don't see if things are slipping. I mean, I see everything. If there's anything out of place, anything where it shouldn't be, anything not right, anything. For instance, I came for lunch with a few friends on Saturday. I wasn't working, and the menus I was handed were dirty.
Oh, that's a rookie error.
I was like that. I was so sorry, and I said,
they thought they would have checked before it came to you.
To me especially, but I'm glad they did because they hadn't been wiped out, and all they needed to, they just were sticky, and then people might spill drinks on them or something's, but they weren't perfect. So, and I was like, don't ever give me or other people. What I was trying to say to like my restaurant manager, I said, that's the first impression of us and our food. So you are saying to them, we have a dirty menu, it's not perfect. And they look at it. I would have looked at that in any other restaurant and gone,
That's true, though. Actually, the way you say it like that is true. When you open, you're like, it is, isn't it? Here.
And I've lots printed, so if they get tatty, they go in the bin, we start again. They just hadn't been wiped over from the night before. That was their error. So, he went away, wiped them all down, had it done to me beautifully. I'm really sorry. But if you don't pull them up on that, they don't see that themselves. They've got to see it themselves and understand. Yeah, and understand why. I always say to everyone, I work with them as a team, and I always try and explain to them why you shouldn't do something, or put yourself in your shoes, what you would accept. You know, do you think that's okay to go out? Do you think that's acceptable if that got put to your table? Do you be happy with that? You wouldn't. And why do you think it's okay to go to my table, my restaurant like that? We get your point.
I suppose it's important, isn't it? If you said to them, don't give me a dirty menu, and they got you a clean one, they wouldn't understand why, but they're explaining that, they remember it, and then tell other people as to. Yeah. Managing people, I imagine, is one of the hardest things to do, isn't it? Most complex.
Yeah, and you are managing all different personalities, and you've got to play to the strengths, and you've got to know their weaknesses. So if they're weak in one part, leave that part to someone else who's got strengths in that part, and, you know, just play to people's strengths and what they can and can't do. And people are hard to manage, but I am so lucky. I have the most magical team. They are brilliant. We all get on.
Sure.
We're all friends. I mean, quite young as well, and they all hang out together as friends. They love their job. They love working here. They love what they do. I try and, like, we're going tomorrow wine tasting
Cool.
with Natasha and Sam, so restaurant manager and general manager. They drink wine, I don't drink wine, so they'll taste it all. You know, we have great staff parties, and putting those who want to be put through their license, they can, you know, get their license and stuff. And things, you just got to keep helping them develop as people, you know. And, I get very few people leave me. I don't have a big turnover of staff, which is nice, because people always say, how are you finding staff? I say, oh, fine. They don't leave. They don't leave. I do remember someone saying to me, why are you working if you've got a staff shortage? I say, oh, I like it. I like serving food. I like carrying your plates out. I don't want to walk around here like I own the place and sit at the bar with a glass of champagne.
It's not relatable, is it? Yeah.
It's not me. It's not me. I want to be part of it, you know. I always say, rota me on. I say, Tash, rota me on, because I'm not coming in and be bored.
Just give me something to do.
Get something to do, you know.
And then the last thing I'll ask, what's it like with the live singer? Because the live singer is always on in here. Does that have like a big impact on the whole experience? Because I know when I go out and nights out with other people, they always say, like, oh, I need to go to Andalusian, they've got a live singer on here. Because it does, I don't know, it heightens everything, doesn't it? It makes everything a lot better. So how does that impact a night when you've got one of them on?
Really, very much so. And we used to just do it Fridays, but we do Fridays and Saturdays now, because people want to come in, they want to interact, they want to get up and have a dance, they want to listen to someone play and sing, and they can. It's always at that side of the bar. So if you want to just listen to it but not be right in it, you can be at this side so you can hear it. But, you know, it just really brings people in, and we've got some really good local people. I always like to use local people. So some really good local people who come and do acoustic sets, and it just does bring a great crowd of people in. And people, if they've got a following, come in, you know, so they'll advertise themselves and say, oh, just got a new guy who's started, Jake Scott, and he's fantastic. And when he first came to play, he was like, didn't realise it'd be this busy, you know, but he loves it. And I think I was out that night, and I kept shouting. Well, he must have played for an extra half an hour.
Did he charge you for that?
No, but I actually did give him some money, because that's what you should do. I was very grateful, but he was sweating, and he was sweating at the. I said, I haven't got anything else left. I said, played something you've already played. He was like, okay. So
that's funny.
You know, but it makes a big difference. And
it does.
Once you do find that once the singer's gone, quite a few people do disappear, because they've come, you know, specifically for that. But then you get a lot of movement between the bars and stuff, and we do stay busy. So, but it's fantastic. Sorry, and try and have them on like bank holiday Sundays and stuff as well. You know, just for people to come in and do something. It's really nice.
It's a focal point, isn't it? Like, people just go there, and so you could just have music on, because anyone could have music on. Yeah. You've got the singer, people go over, sing along, dance, and all that kind of stuff.
Definitely.
So what would you say is next then for here and Tottergill? Anything in the pipeline?
Nothing specifically in the pipeline for here. I think we have just got a new chef who's joined our team. He is the head chef from Pancho's.
Oh, nice.
So that's been causing an absolute stir. And people are begging for enchilada suizas. I'd never had them, enchilada suizas, chimichanga de carne and things like that. So we've had such a great response to him, and he's great. What a lovely guy to work with. And he trained under Johnny Kidd, our old ex-chef, head chef, in a couple of places. And he's just a really good all-round team player. So we're introducing some of his dishes, which is good. We've introduced sharing boards on Sundays, which go down really, really well, so that you can get a roast on a board with all different kinds of meats and all your vegetables and stuff like that. Nothing else that I can think of at the minute in here, or that I'll tell you, because everyone will copy.
Well, you heard here first, the drag
breakfast, they're not going to work. But no, I think everything, just keeping it, but just trying to stay fresh and innovative. Maybe I'll probably end up changing upstairs a little bit, doing a few bits and pieces.
What, Tottergill?
At Tottergill, we are always kind of trying to make things look better. We've put a couple of lodges up there. We've got planning permission to put 4 more dwellings across one of the fields. So we're just looking at different designs. I want to put something quite different there. Because we've got cottages and we've got a couple of lodges, I want to put something that's quite unusual, very eco-friendly. Yeah. So yeah, we're just looking at something there. We also would like to put a tree house in the woods, because that would be really good. Yeah. So we've got plans for up there, and just keeping on top of that. While the marketplace, I think, is saturated for holiday cottages, I think if you offer something different, again, just hold on tight, because business is going to come back once people start understanding that nothing's changing. They don't need to panic. Social media and the news are telling everybody cost of living crisis, you're not going to have any money to spend. People are realising, we have got money to spend, we're okay. I think people will start wanting to go on holiday again, and in the UK, and just offering people something a bit different and a bit quirky, and trying to think out of the box again in that respect, and using the land better there, because we've got a lot of land and we probably don't use it as well as we should do. So yeah, and I'm going to bring back Ladies at Lunch. I'm going to launch
that'd be exciting
this year as well, and and work with another friend here. We're going to do that together. So
I think that'll be powerful.
I think so. Really nice, and it's not about women in business. It's more about, it's what men and women do network differently, and it's a nice thing to have women to just network. What I found when I was a director, and I would maybe take one of the designers with me to an event, and the man would talk to the designer, who was a designer, and then kind of dismiss me a little bit, and then they'd say, what do you do? And I'd be like, I'm the sales director. And then they'd switch to, I've got this wrong, and so men go, hello, I'm Adam, and this is what I can do for you. What can you do for me? Whereas women go, hi, I think lipstick, that's blah, blah, blah. And they get to know each other, and then they recommend because they've got to know you and like you. So I think that's quite a nice thing to do for women, to kind of know each other and spread the love and knowledge between each other.
I think especially around here as well, isn't there? I feel more women, and even like young girls maybe wouldn't feel comfortable going to like a networking event, would they, with likes and Nicks, and they'd be more comfortable and safe and just having that, or maybe just share problems, like this problem in business, what should I do, or that kind of thing. Yeah, I think that I'll pop off definitely. Yeah,
and it's important. It's important to share your knowledge and help other people. I would help anybody in anything. When Morgan set up his bar, he was my bar manager years ago. Gave him lots of advice. Anybody wanting anything, I would always help them. Another friend has the Rolling Pub Co, Jason. I help him. I always say, if you run out of anything, I'm here. If you need anything, I'm here. And that's what it's about. It's about working together, isn't it? And making sure looking after each other. And
it's a good karma, isn't it?
It's really good karma.
It is
good karma. I've been like that all my life, I think. Even like shopping local. I always try and shop local. There's not a lot in Carlisle to shop.
True.
wise, but I buy a lot of clothes from Alice, opposite the cathedral, Alice Fashions.
Oh, yeah.
She does some really nice clothes, so I try and shop with her, and buy from like the health food shop, or I bought dresses from Carol Roberts because she's got some lovely stuff for weddings and the races and stuff like that, and just buy local, share the love, use local people, support them.
Definitely good.
So then we'll wrap up the podcast. Is there anything you want to plug, tell people where to follow you, where to come for Andalusian or Tottergill, social media handles, websites, location?
So please come to the Andalusian, continue to come to the Andalusian. We need you. You can follow us on Facebook and on Instagram, just as the Andalusian Bar and Bistro, I think it is. Tottergill Farm, if you don't know of us and you just follow the Andalusian, Tottergill Farm is at Carrick near Brampton, and we're on Instagram and Facebook as well, just as Tottergill Farm. And if you've got any great ideas that you want to share with me that you think I should be doing, I'm very open to them. And please keep coming, because we love seeing everybody, and we're nothing without our customers.
Did you want to do biggest mistake or biggest regret or not?
I don't have any, but I'm
Just say what you say.
So you asked me what my biggest mistake or regret was. I don't have any, because I think I'm of that mindset that if you say something was a mistake or a regret, it kind of makes it like those years were worthless. I was married before. Was that a mistake? No. Was it a regret? No.
Sure.
It was what it was. And if I were to say it was a regret, then I wasted 7 years of my life with that, you know what I mean, with that person. And I'm not prepared to allow that to be seen as though those years by myself. So I think what you have to do is you have to say, I'm sure I do make mistakes, but they're things that I can learn from. So, there's things that you just go, I wouldn't do that way again, and I wouldn't do this way again. I don't think people should beat themselves up about things, because you have to make mistakes to learn in life. Sometimes it's try and learn from other people's mistakes.
Yeah, definitely.
And listen to what other people are trying to tell you. And I think my only mistake that I ever make is I'm a big open book, and I accept people like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes get your fingers burnt, as I've found out a couple of times. But it shouldn't stop you from being you, and that's to do with other people, isn't it? That's to do with their personalities.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Yeah. But again, no mistakes, no regrets, just life events.
Yeah. I think it's a good mindset to have, isn't it? Like you say, you're not letting the past dwell and have a negative impact on the future, isn't it? And saying, oh, well, won't do that again, and that kind of thing.
The past doesn't equal the future. I've always said that, it's just live for now. Always live for now. Live in the moment. My mother-in-law died a year and a half ago, and we said then we will say yes to everything. We'll do everything. We'll go everywhere. And people always say to me, oh, you're never here. You're here, there and everywhere. How do you do it? But they don't see me at my computer till midnight or till whatever time. And I do it because I want to live my life. I work really hard. I play harder because I don't want to kind of just be stuck working. You need to be able to
work
also, and really experience a lot of life as well. So
that's the thing. People don't see the behind the scenes, do they?
No, they don't see me. Yeah.
On you on a Saturday night.
Dancing. They don't see me cleaning toilets or doing something, changing beds, or working in the kitchen or all those kind of things.
That's the bit that people don't want to do they? They just want to do the Saturday night out, shaking hands, and talk to people, don't they?
Yeah, and you just can't do it. You've got to do everything, and you've got to be present, but you've got to live your life.
Yeah.
And I live my life, and I love my life, so that's important.
I think that's a perfect way to end it. So everyone, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to the podcast, like the video, leave a comment, your favourite part, any comments and questions for Tracey, leave them in the comment section below. If you listen on Spotify, Apple, make sure to follow the podcast and leave a 5-star review. We'll see you next time. Bye.